Yeah, so hello, and thank you so much for accepting to do this interview with me. This is Creatives in the
It's
House.
okay.
Yeah, so this interview is all about creatives in the industry in Uganda who do artwork, fashion, anything in the creative industry. So I think we are going to jump right into it really. Could you kindly tell me
Okay.
who you are and what you do?
Okay. Um, my name is Katula Cranmer. I'm the founder of Reminak Studios Enterprises Limited. It's the home of Reminak Comics and Reminak TV. Uh, I am a professional illustrator and a writer, and I do write and make comic books and other kinds of content exclusively for Remina Comics and Remina TV.
Okay,
Yeah, basically
so
that's it.
yeah, when you told me comics, I had a chance to go and look at your Instagram, and honestly, I would like to say I was a bit amazed. The work is good because when you talk about comics, actually reminded of the most common comics when we were still young. That was Spider-Man, I think
Illustrator.
from Marvel.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, because the
It's an
most
iconic
common,
character, that one.
yeah, because the most common comic makers in the world, I believe, are Marvel.
Yeah,
But then
the most
again,
popular.
yeah, but then again, if it is something people can relate to, I see a lot of comics in newspapers. I believe that is New Vision and Book a Day. There is that particular segment where they put some comics and they are trying to actually put out a message. I
Yeah,
believe those are comics, right?
yeah, they are comics, but they are more to do with humor, entertainment. We call them gag comics.
Okay.
Yeah, it just means it's not really serious. It's kind of
Yeah.
supposed to be entertaining. The artwork is supposed to be entertaining and exaggerated, and yeah, and the storylines are often different. There is nothing connecting and leaving them all together. So yeah,
Okay, I think, yeah, okay, thank you. I believe, I think oftentimes we confuse comics and comic books and storybooks. Okay,
mm,
maybe you could tell us a bit of a difference between comic books and storybooks, or maybe picture books. Because when people look at comic books and storybooks, I don't think they're able to tell a difference. Because people are like, oh, these are cartoons, or these are
yeah.
illustrations. So, what could differentiate a comic book from a storybook?
In my opinion, the difference is in a comic book, the story is told in terms of uh, illustrations made in small boxes called panels, and with wording attached to those panels telling a whole grand story. It's an example here. In comics, the entire story is pictures and small words to illustrate that. So in storybooks, it's mostly there's a lot of narrative and one image, or like let's say 6 images in one storybook and the whole narrative.
Okay.
So I guess visually the biggest difference between a comic book and a storybook is the disconnect in a storybook. Like you can only watch the pictures in a storybook and get the whole gist of the story, as in a storybook, since like the pictures are fewer and there is a lot like information accompanying those pictures.
Yes.
It's very easy to lose what the book is all about in terms of the pictures that you get to see because there are few. But in comics, we invest a lot of storytelling in the art itself. In each box, its size, its shape is all a part of the storytelling.
Okay.
So it's like how you draw is supposed to tell a story, and makes like about 40% of the story, and then the other 60% is in how you put the lettering onto the pictures you have drawn to give it more meaning.
Okay.
And you have to use
Actually,
as few words as
okay.
possible, so people
Okay.
can take in the visual media.
Okay. I think I'm going to share a bit of your work here. You're going to actually see it on the screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see that
Yeah.
one.
This is your IG. So
Yeah.
I kind of like specifically this picture. It's very relatable. So this is Kampala, right?
That's Kampala. That's Kampala.
And this is Mapera. How did you get the inspiration to do this kind of comic?
Like to do this type of comic book, or to go
Specifically
into comic books?
specifically this, like, where did you actually
This
find the
particular,
inspiration for this piece? Yeah.
to do this particular, it's called
Yes.
the Street Monster. So
Okay.
basically, our company was in partnership, and our company is still in partnership with another NGO called Streetlights Uganda, and it
Okay.
deals with empowering street children and raising awareness for the severity of the street child problem. And during the course of our partnership, we thought of what we could do to like also help raise that awareness. And so we went on one of their research projects, delving deeper and deeper into what the child problem is in Kampala, and that we got information, like not information that you get off Google about the child problem, but on ground information. And from that, we decided to do a story that would tell just that. And yeah, the next thing was to start drawing, and I knew this comic book had to be a little bit different from other comic books. It had to be a little bit darker.
Okay.
And yeah, so yeah, the story in there is meant to show what is on ground, what's really happening here, and how severe the child problem is, and if nothing is done about it, it may get even worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's more of raising awareness to do that. That's why it inspired me, because interacting with street children, like in person and hearing their stories, they're so moving. Like they have lived and survived things you can't even imagine. And their stories need to be heard in one way or another. So as Remina Comics, the Street Monster was our way of showing that to the world.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. So I'm moving on to the next question. So the next question is, when did you realize that you wanted to pursue a career in publishing comic books? When did you actually realize that, yeah, this is my moment, this is what I'm supposed to do, I should ensure that I do this?
It's a good question. The answer is really long, but let me try to summarize it. I was about 18 when I made the decision that this is what I wanted to do. And a lot of that came from having sure that I read a lot by force. She was a teacher, so she made me read books a lot. And then eventually I started to fall in love with reading, and then I would read without being forced to read. And become a writer, because I got so obsessive in terms of the books that I loved. I loved the worlds that I read about, and initially I wanted to become a writer. But the act of sitting down and writing a novel felt so cumbersome. And at age 14, when I decided to write my first novel, I couldn't do it. I thought it. So flash forward, in about, I think when I was about 17, a friend of mine introduces me to Japanese comics called manga.
Yeah, manga.
And and I see these pictures and the stories. I'm like, a lot of the storytelling is done in the pictures, I don't have to like write a lot. I just need to draw a lot. Write a lot. So since I already had that love for storytelling within me, and I discovered that I could now tell stories with pictures. I was like, that is much easier than sitting down and writing a novel. And when I also look at the reading culture here in Uganda, it's really, really low.
That's
really low. Yeah, Ugandans don't want to read. So I thought like it would be very difficult for me to market my novel that I've written. Let's say it's 10,000 pages to people and have them read all of it. And it's like, if it's a comic book, 5 minutes a person is done. So I decided I'm going to tell stories through pictures, and from then on I started learning how to draw. And yeah, I felt I had these like very specific stories that I wanted to tell, and I felt like the best way to tell them is through this visual medium that combines drawing and writing and brings something like really new into the world. So that's just when I decided. I wasn't really good at drawing. I put a lot of hard work into that, and I got better with time. And yeah. So yeah, I decided to tell stories through comic books. I'm still trying to get better as an artist. It doesn't stop after learning.
Okay.
I'm always flexible.
Yeah, the network is actually disturbing me as well. But I remember you telling me that you actually did write a novel before, right? That's actually.
I was writing stories before, like before I decided really late, like at 18, that's already too late to start learning a skill like drawing. There's a lot of hours going into that process. But the main reason that I really did decide to make this, it wasn't because I thought I was going to become better at it or anything. I just really fell in love with comic books. I started to read a lot of them, and I was inspired by the pictures and the art. And I thought to myself, there is absolutely nothing else I want to do with my life except to do this and try to be better at it.
Okay. So you said that it took you some bit of time to actually master the technology to draw and craft out the comics. How long did it actually take you to master that?
To master, there is like two ways to make a comic book. There is the traditional way, and then there is the digital way. So the digital way is now the new normal. People are forgetting all about the traditional way, but the traditional way you draw the comic book on paper from start to finish. So there was a phase that
yeah. So you were actually giving me an overview of the market. You told me that you did write a bit, but then you are a bit challenged because the culture in Uganda is that people don't read a lot. So you had to, and then this is where your passion for doing comics actually was developing. And then you realized that you could actually tell a story through comics. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that is where we left off.
So you had asked me like how long it takes how long it took me to learn. And I was explaining about the traditional way of making comic books and the digital way. So the traditional way in summary took me about 2 years, two years to get to the first decent picture.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was practicing like day and night, full up reams of paper, trying to draw and trying to get better because I had stories to tell. And the way I practiced is I didn't like practice for practicing sake. I practiced still by telling stories.
Yes.
So I would practice on a project practice, and the digital way just took me about 6 months because
6 months, huh?
if you have learned if you have learned how to draw, that's in your blood. It's a part of you. So
Okay.
the digital way, we're just learning to draw using a computer and a drawing tablet. So it's easier to adjust if you are really willing to adjust. So that took me about 6 months.
Okay. So okay. Yeah. So from what I understand is it actually takes approximately 6 months to master. I believe depending on the person, and then I believe
It
you
depends on
actually
the
use
person, yeah.
yeah, and then you use a lot of computer, right, and a lot of software to develop. So which kind of software do you actually use to develop the comics, the characters?
I use Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. Yeah,
Okay.
it's mainly those three softwares. I've tried other softwares, but I feel at home with those three that I've mentioned, especially
And
Photoshop.
and I would like to believe that it actually takes a lot of time for you to sit down on your computer. Approximately, how long does it take you to develop a character? Just one.
Characters, that doesn't take long.
Not so
Yeah,
long.
yeah, if you're drawing for the sake of drawing a character, it doesn't. Artists are different, but developing a character, it's less than a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It's usually
So
what the intention behind creating that character is that makes it a little bit harder.
okay,
Yeah, but
okay,
if you're like creating a villain and you have an idea, a visual idea of how you want this villain to look like, or if you've been given a description by a client of how he or she wants uh, his characters to look like, you read through that and then that guides you through the sketching process.
okay. So my next question is, what was your biggest fear when starting out in that line of work? What were you actually mostly afraid of when you said that I am going to do, I'm going to publish comic books? So at that moment in time, did you have any fears, and what were they?
Yeah, I had a lot of fears, honestly. I still do even to this day. Uh, the main fear was my extreme lack of talent in terms of drawing. Uh, I felt like there were a lot of artists that were already better than me, and
Okay.
in terms of making comic books, and they were not starting their own comic book companies. And I was like, am I missing something? Why are these people that are so good at drawing not starting
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
So that paralyzed me for a while. I was like, maybe I should wait until they start, then I'll
Okay.
start as well, because there must be something I'm not seeing. And then I realized that their inability to start also stemmed from the lack of supporting Uganda when it comes to this kind of medium. It's new, people
Okay.
don't understand it, and don't appreciate it, and don't appreciate
Okay.
like how expensive it is in terms of the time you have to invest to sit down and finish a comic book.
Okay.
So they had there was a fear of, if you go into this, you're going to make a comic book and it's going to cost you a lot in printing, so you're going to sell it at about 20,000. Is an ordinary
Okay.
Ugandan going to pay 20,000 to just read 20
Yeah.
pages worth of comic books?
Yeah.
That didn't seem applicable. So I thought about that, and also that slowed me down. And at the same time, there was capital to invest in this. When you're investing in something new, there is a lot of marketing that you have to do to get people to adapt to that new thing that you have introduced. But mainly it was because I had a lot of people, my professors mentor me into this. I was never alone when I was trying to get into this. Adjusting the storytelling that I was used to suit the Ugandan audience. That also took time, and it was after I adjusted the storytelling and started to write stories that are relevant to Ugandans and to Uganda, and also adjust the artwork to be more African-like, because originally it was not like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, those were the main fears. The fear that people won't appreciate this or won't really pay for it, and the fact that you don't know if you're going to make a profit or loss out of it. And
Okay.
those were the main fears.
Okay. So you have mentioned that there was really lack of support. Um, did you actually try? Did you try reaching out to the people who are already in the industry, the people who are already in the industry, who are already making the books? Did you actually try to reach out to them in terms of mentorship or advice or anything?
Yeah, originally when I was training to become a comic book artist, and also to adjust my style to be more African, because in the beginning I was drawing like Japanese way, like how you see manga, and the storyline for also that way. So I had to go do internships at local publishing houses, like let's say MK Publishers. I worked there for a long time. I worked at Fountain Publishers. I worked at Baroque Publishers. I've worked for a lot of publishing companies, and
Okay.
they were making storybooks, and they were not interested in making comic books because it's labor intensive. In a publishing house, you are paid per illustration. So they figured that a comic book has so many illustrations. If we're going to be artists per illustration to make a comic book, it would be so expensive. And also they had the same problem of the reading culture here does not like inspire such an endeavor. And also my professors were of the view that it's really difficult. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable to do that kind of thing here on the level that I was going to start to do it. Because first of all, there are not so many artists that can do this, and first of all, people are not going to pay the amount of money that I want them to pay for that. That's what they say. So
Yeah.
put in a lot of energy to make. So most artists and most illustrators and even my professors, they were comfortable in making illustrations for money, and they continue to do that. But I wanted to still do this, even though it's still like difficult. So I decided to do both.
Okay. So you're actually telling me that you did face a lot of discouragement from people who told you that they told you that it would be expensive in terms of money and whatnot, but you still went ahead to do this because you wanted to do this and because you were passionate about it. So my next question is, what do you actually enjoy most about this work? You've decided to do this work, but what exactly do you enjoy most? Is it in terms of when you tested out the market or the audience, when they told you that it would be difficult, that the recipient would be difficult, when you actually tested out the audience and you published your books, what was it like for you? Regarding what they told you, what was it like for you, and what did you actually enjoy most about your work?
Hello?
Yeah, so I was saying, this was my question. You told me that when you tried to talk to a lot of publishing companies about comic books, they told you that it was expensive in terms of money and it wouldn't be received well by the audience and all that. I am saying, when you actually went ahead to pursue this dream or this career, what was it like for you in regards to what they were telling you? How did you find the audience? Like, was it different from what they were telling you, or was it the same? And the other question is, what do you enjoy most about your work?
They were not wrong. I will tell you that. Most of the times when people try to tell you that something is difficult or impossible, it's not out of malice. It's their experience, and they're telling you to the best of their knowledge what they know. So yeah, everything they said was true. Comic books are very expensive to make. There are too few artists that know their art. So if you started a comic book publishing company, where would you get the illustrators that are good enough to make the quality of work of product that you want? And also, if you're going to pay these artists the amount of money that is worth the work and the work they're going to make for you spend doing that.
Mm.
That cost of production, and then also having to sell the comic books and distribute them on a local scale, you would have to, when you account for that, you would have to come to the conclusion that a comic book of, let's say, 24 pages is about 25,000 to 30,000.
Okay.
To compensate for all the hard work that has gone in terms of the illustrators drawing and the graphic designers designing the final pages. So they were totally right. Ugandan didn't want to buy the comic books at first because they were really expensive. Even at 10,000, I couldn't move comic books. Yeah, there was like that's too expensive. 24 pages, just charging
Yes.
10,000. That's too expensive. Yeah, and also the other challenge was some of the stories I was telling in the beginning, people didn't understand them. They were like, "This is unreal. There's no way I relate to this. It doesn't even feel like it's made by you. It's you are
Very.
Ugandan company, African. The story had no way to connect to it. To tell like stories that people could relate to in one or the other. So the African stories and Ugandan stories and the backgrounds should remind you of something very similar to your surroundings. So yeah. So there were things they mentioned that the cost of production would be too high, distribution would be very difficult, people would not be able to pay the amount of money you want to pay. All of those things were right. And it was a bitter, it is still a tough pill to swallow, but because I love it so much, I continued anyway. I was like, you never know, it might be different. It may be hard for a couple of years, but eventually I'll figure out these things as I go. Yeah. Does that answer that question?
It does. So what from what you're telling me is what I understand is there are actually still a lot of challenges in this line of work, right? Yeah, but you're passionate about what you're doing and you're actually aiming for a better future. You're hoping that the future would be better.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So the other question was, what do you enjoy most about this work despite all the challenges?
What do I enjoy most? It's a lot, really. If I am to put it if I'm to summarize it, really, it's the way people react to it. It's what I really enjoy the most. Because when you're drawing, you have a different opinion of what you know the story that you're trying to tell, and it's very intentional. Your storytelling is intentional. The pictures you're drawing, they're all intentional. You understand what you're saying. So, but will people understand it? That's also a different thing. So when people try to interpret what you have drawn and the feedback that they give back, I think that's the thing I love the most about it.
The feedback.
Some people like really fall in love with it. Some people don't understand it. It's all those things that I love it. So and sometimes people find a lot of a much deeper meaning in it. It could be something, so like a simple story, like for instance, the street monster, and people would read it, and then the feedback they would give you was so deep, and be like,
beyond what you had, beyond what you had expected, or beyond what you intended when you actually did the book.
I look forward to those moments when I hear reactions like
that. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So my next question is actually, I think, answered. Thank you so much. So my last two questions for you are the second last question is about collaboration in Uganda. Have you actually ever tried to collaborate with other artists in the same line of work as you do?
Yeah, I have, being that I'm a company, I've collaborated with upcoming artists, experienced artists, and sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it depends on how you manage artists. Artists and creatives in general, we have a different mindset and a different approach to the way we do things.
Okay.
New approaches.
Okay.
So yeah, I've managed because we've been lucky that in trying to make comic books and forcing people to work to find some sort of value and meaning in them, we've attracted in different NGOs to try and engage us in terms of making comic books to promote their own agendas. And we've worked with some NGOs, like we said, and we made comic books for them. And those were labor-intensive projects that could not be handled by myself. So obviously, I had to call in other artists. And collaboration is possible. It's possible, and I think it's a good thing. But there's a learning curve because every artist is unique to themselves, and they don't all inspired by the same thing. So they have there's a learning process. You have to understand that the artist you choose to work with in a different way, and you have to you can't approach them with the same mindset of the entrepreneur where it's deadlines. I want this work done like tomorrow. I want it done in a week. Because the creative process itself is very, very different for artist or illustrator. Some find making some stories easier and some very difficult. So, in my collaborations, I've found that I've had to be very, very patient because what I've become is not just an illustrator, it's an entrepreneur. I set out to be a comic book artist, only that I ended up having to become an entrepreneur at the same time.
Okay.
So having to explain to my clients that there's been a delay in productivity because we are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties in terms of making the story that you want us to make. It's really, really hard. I don't like making excuses. So collaborating with artists is something that is very possible, but then it takes a lot of time and patience to really adjust to the creatives that work with. So, but I'm getting better at it. So I really believe it's possible. Right now, I'm looking to work with as many as possible.
Okay. Actually, on a personal note, I believe collaboration is quite very important in the creative industry. It's just that there are just a lot of creatives out there who whereby it's hard for them to actually sit down on a table, especially those the people that we look up to. People that we look up to, the ones that we assume who like they've made it in life, really, whichever line of creativity or art or fashion. There are those people that we believe have actually made it more than us, that they are a bit a step further away than us. When you always try to reach out to them, it's very impossible to actually reach them. So it makes it a bit difficult for the people for the underdogs, for those who are down, to try and carve a way out to success as well. So on a personal note, I
think I've experienced that myself, trying to reach out to other comic book companies, and from the conversations that you have with them, you find that their values are different, and they're after something that is totally different, and you can't seem to see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Hello. Are you saying yes, hello? Hello.
Yes, hello. I hear you.
Yeah. We were talking about collaboration in the creative industry.
I've also been the underdog trying to get at somebody that I admire and trying to get them to go out, so to give me advice. Sometimes it doesn't go really well, and then sometimes it does. So I think there needs to there needs to, for this industry to grow. The people that have been lucky enough or worked hard enough to actually make it, try to help out the people that are trying to come up in one way or another to the best way that we possibly can. I do that myself. I really try to encourage the people that are coming up when they inbox me and ask me how long does it take, what software.
I didn't really. We have issues with network. Network is really so bad nowadays. I don't know why.
So as I was saying.
Yeah. Yes, hello? Yes, continue.
Yeah, so as I was saying, the creatives that have made it need to lend a helping hand to the creatives that are coming up in the different aspects of the creative industry. And I myself have been doing that because I understand it's very difficult when you're trying to do something new and different, and especially something that people are not accustomed to yet. So you need, like, if you have somebody to mentor you and to guide you, it really does help a lot. So I feel like I'm not saying the people that have made it must do this, but I think for this industry to grow, they really have to try to lend a helping hand to the people that are coming up. Yeah, and I always try to do that. I don't try to say things and not stand by them. So when I try to say you need to share, I do that mostly by acting that in that particular respect. So I tend to share a lot of information if I'm asked by anybody about the creative industry, artists that are coming up want advice in terms, even when they are looking for like visual aids to help them learn materials. I give that stuff out for free. Even when I get like clients that want me to make work for them, but the price they're offering is not the price that I want. I pass on those jobs to the people that are coming up, and I feel like the people that have made it should also do that so that the industry can grow as a whole.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So moving on to the very last question is how does the future look like for you? Like, where do you see yourself in the coming future as a creative? Yeah, so my very last question was how does the future look like for you? Where do you see yourself as a creative? Actually, in terms of personal goals or career goals, and then in terms of the industry at large, the industry in terms of the people who actually publish books, comic books. Do you see this industry growing a bit? Do you see it growing? Do you see it stagnant? Do you see it improving? Do you see it deteriorating? Because honestly, I would like to say I was a bit very amazed to see your work. And it actually made me very happy to know that we had people who are pursuing, who are actually going down the same path as Marvel. I honestly don't understand why would have people Ugandans who would not want to support the industry, because they would actually go ahead and read the Marvel comics online. I'm like, why not support our very own, right? So my very last question is, how does the future look like for you in terms of your career and in terms of the industry at large? Yes, hello?
Hello, I can hear you. So yeah, I beg your pardon. I missed parts of that question.
Okay. So the conversation was
Mm,
like we have Ugandans who would go ahead to read comic books made by people abroad, made by Marvel and other
yes,
industries,
yes.
and we have people.
Mm,
I actually, it's quite funny when you say that Ugandans don't actually want to read. The truth is, I know of quite a very large community of uh, of people, of ladies and guys between the 20s and the 30s who actually read a lot of novels online on a daily
mm,
basis, right? So I'm like, when it
yes.
comes down to our very own creatives, to our very own writers, to our very own comic book publishers, why not support them? So that is where my question comes in. Um,
Mm,
as a creative, where do you see yourself in the future in terms of your career as a person and in terms of the industry in general, in your line of work?
mm. Yeah, I think the main reason people aren't supporting uh, like creatives, you like began creative, like how you said how people would go online and then read novels and then are not willing to read literature that is made here. I think there is it's in terms of like value. Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I think uh, as creatives, we need to like make work that is of equal value as the works that they read online
Okay.
in terms of quality, and which is something that is really hard to do because you're going to invest a lot of money in it that you may or may not have. Yeah, but that's what needs to happen. We need to meet each other halfway. So
Okay.
for the creatives, they need to, like, for instance, the filmmakers need to make movies of all of Hollywood quality if they want Ugandans to read watch those movies instead of watching the blockbusters that come out of Hollywood. So, and to also the comic book artists, they also need to make the quality of comic books that people want. Hello, I can hear you. Do you hear me? I was saying, yeah, I was saying that creatives need to make work to the quality of what you're consuming online, which is a little bit hard because sometimes that is going to cost a lot more money that they don't have because most creatives are like people that come from uh, families that are not like doing well financially. So
Okay.
it's a really difficult thing to do. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and I don't know if most creatives are ready to sacrifice that much. And uh, in terms of where I see the industry and myself in 50 years, I think it's because I've been in this and from everything that I have had to learn, confident that for the comic book,
Yes, you're
hello,
saying
I hear you.
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, guys, I'm fairly confident that it's going to we're going to when it's industry is going to grow. We're going to start earning from our work because we have sacrificed so much
Okay.
and we are even more and more and more and more until it works out. And yeah, uh,
Okay.
that's my opinion on that. As me as a creative, I've had to learn a lot of things. I've had learn to be humble, to adjust to criticism and with grace. You know, this being sacrificing and then being bitter about it, but also sacrificing gracefully is also something that I've learned to do. And all these things, like I believe, will help grow us as a company. And as we grow as a company, we are going to be helping other upcoming companies grow at the same time. So it's, if one company
Yes. So you actually went off when you were answering the last question. I didn't really pick the last bit of it. Yeah, you were talking about actually the projects that you're doing. Yes.
Yeah. So we are doing a lot of engagement with young people and trying to teach them about this kind of art and how to make it. I personally mentor a lot of children when I'm given the opportunity. I do share on every opportunity that I get, like I'm doing right now, about the state of the industry and where I expect it to be. And I offer a lot of training aids and resources. I have a lot of books that train people how to learn the art of storytelling and making comic books. I share that, I explain them. We often do internship sessions as Remina Comics and try to get people that want to learn to the opportunity to learn. And because of all this effort that has gone into it, then in a few years' time, there's going to be a massive appreciation for this kind of art. And yeah, I believe the industry is steadily growing.
Okay.
Yeah, even despite the challenge of the pandemic, we are adjusting fairly fine. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I would like to say I am very grateful for you coming on board to actually do this interview. We've had a lot of hurdles really in the beginning with the network, but I am grateful that you've actually managed to pull through and join me on this interview. So I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. You have actually contributed a lot, and I am very grateful. And I actually wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this marks
One
the
more thing
end.
for
Yes.
anybody that for anybody that wants to see our comic books or read them, they're all now available for free. We're no longer putting prices on them.
Okay.
We just want people who want to get these things to get them and be inspired by them in one way or another to create something much better. So for anybody that wants to read our work, it's available for free at www.criminalcomics.com. And soon we shall have a reading app in the App Store. It will be called Criminal Comics. It will provide users with a much greater reading experience than the website does. And if you want to see how we have been managing to do what we are doing, on Remin Active, there is videos of our interactions with the younger generation, trying to educate them about this art and storytelling, and the audience's reactions to it. It gives hope to anybody wanting to get into the industry that it will bring eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sharing, and have a good day.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Okay. Have a good day.
Bye bye. You too.